in the Blitz. Thinking for a long time here, Magnus on move 2. He's seen this position before, don't worry. He brings his queenside knight out into the game. And, okay, this bishop move. Very trendy, topical stuff. Black's knight leaping into the centre. And this position has been debated a few times. I've seen Faruja win some nice games on the white side here. Black just pushing a pawn. I'm expecting the white king to castle. There we go. It's all about quick development here for Magnus Carlsen. It's not an open Sicilian where we see big attacks, big tension in the centre, but some manoeuvring instead.
And Pragg seems to know what he's doing as well with his quick moves. And I look at this. Are they going to have a draw? That'd be quite funny.
They've repeated the position once. Magnus will not go for a draw with white, surely.
It'd be quite funny if he did. Just get to the second game quickly and try to win with black. And
well, he's
thinking.
He's thinking.
Yeah, I mean, a normal move would be to move the rook here, wouldn't it? So the bishop's got another square to retreat to. And OK, this is also quite sensible, developing the last piece.
Yeah, is Magnus smiling? I don't know if we can get a close-up. He seemed to be kind of making some kind of expression there.
Yep.
But instead, yeah, that white dark-squared bishop is going to find a nice diagonal. The reason there was that repetition of moves is that white wanted to break open the centre. Black said no. White wanted to kind of swap off knights in a good way. Black retreated again, and the position repeated, but now it's a more normal type of game. Black needs to catch up in development. Right now, Black's only developed 2 knights. White's developed pretty much his whole army.
Yeah, and I was guessing that the rook would move to the centre, and now Praggnanandhaa is trying to get his dark square bishop onto the optimal diagonal. So the big question here for Magnus, is he just going to retreat the bishop so that he can strike open the centre, or is he actually going to initiate some central movement right now? And he goes for the second option, and I like this move. When I used to play something similar like this, I used to get such a thrill when this move appeared on the board.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. If Black's king is stuck in the centre, if Black is lagging behind in development, if your pieces are all ready, then why not open things up in the middle of the board? But Pragg is happy to give up a pawn. White's rook now can go and gobble up a pawn just 2 squares away. I'm not sure how much compensation Black's going to get back for that, but at least the Black king will castle. That's been Pragg's big weakness today.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't like castling, does he? It's clear.
Will he do it now?
Yes.
Of course
Surely.
he won't. No, he won't castle. He doesn't know how to. He's still learning that rule. He's very good at every other area of the game, but this castling rule is silly. He doesn't know how to castle, I tell you.
Okay, well,
he's just...
he's only 17.
Yeah,
he's
still got time to learn.
Yeah, he's just got to...
Meanwhile, this white rook is just going to get kicked around the board.
So do you reckon he'll castle here?
No.
No, of course not.
No, of course not. I learned my lesson there.
There we go. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And some big threats on the board. Black's knight is attacking that white rook that you mentioned that's really clumsy there. But I was going to say, maybe you don't have to move it. This is a really sneaky retreat from Magnus. Now the dark-squared bishops are just staring off at each other. If the black knight goes and captures that white rook, White's dark-squared bishop goes and takes its counterpart, and that looks very good for White. Computer hates it, though. Maybe now you just castle and just say, OK, I'm going to be a pawn down, but I've got great pieces.
He won't castle, David.
I think there's something better.
No,
Let's
he's
check.
not.
No, he just won't castle.
When in doubt, give a check.
Yeah, this looks great. And after the rook moves, the bishop is just going to head back. And I predict in the next move, we are going to see castling. On move 20.
Magnus, meanwhile, shaking his head quite seriously there, frowning now. White is still a pawn up, we should mention, but look at those shattered f-pawns. Look at the white king. The black king's going to be super safe. Black has the bishop pair. Beautiful compensation. And Jovanka, you were right.
Yeah, he gets there.
It finally does. And now it's all about activating that light-squared bishop. And I just have to say, White's kingside pawns are just a complete wreck.
Yeah, a real mess that Magnus has to deal with on that flank. Maybe he should have taken the draw earlier on.
Yep.
He could have repeated the position.
He's got 2 bishops as well, Pragg, and he's been moving very quickly. I mean, you look at the time, he's up on time, and I'm sure he can combine those 2 bishops with his pawns slowly moving forwards on the king side would be a pretty standard way to apply the pressure here. But in these smaller time limits, these quicker time limits, it's always horrible to have the weaker king. White's got the weaker king, another problem. So looking good for Pragg here.
So many tempting moves, though. Does the black queen jump out? Does black just improve? Maybe the rook in the corner, swing it across, try to swing it eventually towards that white king. Do you start advancing those black pawns in the centre now? That white rook is still a bit clumsy. There we go. He does start advancing. Magnus smiling. He's not enjoying the position, that's for sure. So he must be smiling about something else. But this white bishop now is attacking a pawn. Maybe black just defends that b7 pawn and continues his plan.
Definitely. This position is so nice for Praggnanandhaa, and he's ahead, well, slightly behind on the clock, so he has to make some decisions fast. How's he going to defend the pawn? With a rook, with a queen?
You could make an argument for both. You could just be a bit more direct. That's typical Praggnanandhaa. Just kind of give away a second pawn to just start playing for an attack against the white king. But no, he does defend a pawn with his rook, taking a timeout. And Magnus, he's putting everything on light squares. He just doesn't care about the dark squares in this game. He's given away his dark squared bishop. But he's just going to try and plant some white pieces in the center. And will we see Pragg continue advancing pawns? You can kick away that white bishop from its square right now. You can bring the black queen out. Just so many tempting moves again. Maybe that's the one pitfall that Pragg could fall into. He's already burnt a lot of time on the clock ever since he obtained this dominant position.
I was wondering whether you could go and play for mate. And Praggnanandhaa's done just that. He's put his queen on a very aggressive square. And, you know, if you could follow that up with the f-pawn moving forward, the light-squared bishop also making an excursion. And that's why Pragg just tucks his king into the corner, and Magnus under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, Magnus is trying to hustle on the clock. He's just playing quick moves, not necessarily amazing moves, but just getting pieces on squares. He's saying to Pragg, OK, you have to checkmate me. I'm a pawn up. I've got an extra minute and a half on the clock.
Yeah.
Oof. Predictions now, Ivanka. I need those percentages.
No, on this one, I don't know. It's too wild. It's too crazy. I mean, anything can happen. I can see that Magnus is also putting some ghosts into the position because, yes, that pawn is coming forward. But, you know, white might have the threat someday of playing rook takes pawn. And Magnus, that's an odd move. It just tucks the king into the corner. I don't like it. I don't feel that the position...
I think he wants to get his knight back. I think he feels that his knight needs to go near his king to defend. So I expect his knight to come maybe back next to his king now because, OK, and of course he puts it the other way. So, yeah, that's the only... And now the dark square bishop has some... yeah, it looks very scary for white at this position. Very scary.
Black's pieces are playing a good role. Yeah. This was Magnus's plan. When he made that first queen move a few steps ago, it was clear he wanted to shuffle his king in the corner and then follow it up with the queen. He wants to bring the white queen up and challenge trade-off queens soon. But maybe that would just be rejected, I guess, that offer. If white offers a queen trade now, I don't think Magnus is even going to move his rook. That black dark square bishop is worth more than the white rook in the centre.
But maybe you could offer the exchange of queens and take the pawn in the middle if it's refused, and pending where the black queen goes. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you'd actually love black to take your rook here, and OK, he's continuing where he's got a majority because if black gives up the bishop for that rook, you sort your pawns out and you take away some pressure from your king. I mean, is this so bad for Magnus? I'm not sure it's so bad now, really.
Yeah. I mean, ever since black started pushing those pawns in the centre, I don't know. It feels like it's getting better than it was, at least for the world number one. And OK, the bishop did take the rook. Pragg being a bit greedy there. Yep. He's sorted out the white pawn structure, as you mentioned, Simon. No more doubled pawns, but he is up on material at least.
And
things up.
What do you think about this capture? Because I've always kind of been taught when you have these piece imbalances, look at the rooks. If the rooks are good, if they've got open lines, then OK, the rooks are going to overwhelm that piece.
He just wants to be greedy, Ivanka.
Wow.
He just wants to open up and grab this pawn.
Yeah, but this is playing with fire.
I mean, black can grab a pawn here as well, right? And black has grabbed the pawn. And...
OK, the white knight is going to maybe at some point go into the centre of the board. Maybe now. I mean, I'm not sure you can get away with that, to be honest. Maybe the white queen at some point can start counter-attacking against black's bishop. It does look very good for black. You just need to survive. If Magnus can get the queens off, game on again. But Pragg is attacking right now. Yeah,
I mean, he has to defend that knight. If he moves it, the queen can step one square back and start attacking some pieces. Oh, this is so on the edge for Magnus.
Rubbing his eyes as well, gesturing there. He's got 2.5 minutes, but 2.5 minutes aren't useful if you're just losing on the board.
Whatever happens, Magnus Carlsen will win the tournament and get this very cool NFT trophy that you see now on the bottom of the screen. And there is an exclusive fan edition available also of this NFT trophy that will be up for grabs in an auction for the next 72 hours on chesschamps.io. So make your bid to grab that exclusive trophy with Magnus Carlsen's face on it. But he's struggling here, Magnus.
Struggling big time. Another pawn has just dropped. So now it is a black rook for the white knight, but also the white king. So open.
Yeah.
There's going to be all sorts of checkmating ideas against it. I don't see an immediate win, but it's on the brink now. The white queen is on the wrong side of the board to defend her king. White will block this check with a knight. Okay, Magnus changes his mind, clicks off the knight there. He's going to hide his king in the corner. I don't know, I still think there might be some twists and turns ahead in this game. Pragg is under 1 minute. If the queens come off, White has this 3 versus 1 pawn majority on the left side.
White would love to get the queens off. I mean, White would be absolutely fine, I think, if...
Ultimate dream right now.
Yeah, the queens are exchanged. And he's brought the knight back to blockade here. And what is the next step for Black? I mean, the bar thinks Pragg is completely winning, but it's not clear what the next stage of this attack is. Does he use his pawn? His Harry pawn, his H pawn? No.
He gets greedy.
He grabs a pawn.
Greedy's good.
Why not, I suppose, yeah. So.
And Pragg just under 40 seconds on the clock. I wasn't sure about White getting greedy because this does allow Black to give a few checks. They're on the board. And now it's just about relocating that bishop on the edge. And Pragg is really being materialistic here. He's putting as much pressure on those pawns as possible.
Yeah, why not? Now the black queen is perfectly centralized. White's queen offside. Yeah, and White's queen is tied down defending her own pawns. Yeah, it's just so hard to imagine the white king surviving somehow. Magnus is about to lift his rook into the center. There we go.
Yeah,
another check.
Checks.
And this has got to be terminal. Surely you got the rook coming in at some point as well. I mean, luckily the white knight just about covers enough squares for the time being.
The bishop is coming.
The bishop comes in. I mean, yeah, it's and that bishop might wriggle its way all the way around in some cases as well. And
Percentage here, Ivanka.
Oh, come on, it's got to be big. It's got to be.
Yeah, it would be like 100%.
100%.
100%.
Oh.
I know. I was there, but it's pretty high.
Yeah.
It's very good. If the white king survives this, then miracles do really exist.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, Magnus, his rook is attacked. Is he just going to leave his rook on this square? He does love sacrificing material.
He hasn't got much material left, though, has he?
No.
That's the issue here. I mean, he's literally running out of material. He's already the exchange down, and if he leaves the rook there, it's too much time situation. OK, they're both under a minute, so...
Yeah. Well, the problem is that, you know, as you mentioned, that bishop will kind of work its way to the F1 square, and how do you fight that?
Black bishop, yeah.
Sorry, the black bishop,
well,
yeah.
You know what I do here, don't you? Resign.
Yes.
Yeah, just get it.
Time of the game.
It is, and now the bishop can work its way around. If it just steps to attack the rook, there it goes.
There we go.
And he already had sacrificed it, but
He had to. Otherwise, checkmate was coming.
More desperation, surely, than anything else there. I mean, he does have those 2 pawns, so it gives him a glimmer of hope with Pragg being so short a time.
And Magnus said, queen exchange. Pragg says no, and now he's setting up. Rook takes bishop.
Yeah, he would love to just give back one of the 2 black rooks in order to simplify the position. Yeah, 2 rooks against 2 minor pieces. Sometimes there's a chance if the pawns are really far up the board, but White's pawns are a bit stuck now. And also Magnus below on the clock. Yeah, great game by Pragg. Just so smooth.
Very nice, yeah.
Tactically sharp out of the opening and never really let the advantage slip.
Yeah.
Really energetic. I love how he's kept the queens on at every juncture.
And Magnus, 7 seconds. And his king goes for a walkabout. And, well, Pragg is a man on a mission.
Yeah, he gives back one of the exchanges, as we call it, a rook for minor piece. And now it's just a rook for knight, and black has an extra pawn. The white king, devoid of any real defenders as well. If that white pawn drops, it's just game over, the white B pawn.
Would you guys put as percentages?
105%, I feel here.
It's high.
It's very high. I mean, you know, you have to do a major blunder here to I mean, we know that
can he threaten checkmate in one go? OK, well, he's pushed his pawn forward.
Yeah, I mean, Pragg just doesn't blunder either. This is the other thing. I mean, you know, it doesn't happen with Pragg.
Yeah, he's just going to find a safe square for the black king, and then it's all about attacking the white king. OK, at least the pawn is alive for Magnus, but that pawn is still not running. Pragg playing it super safe.
Oh, but now I think I thought the G-pawn was going to move forward, but no, Pragg is just keeping full control of the position.
It would be completely impractical to push any pawns near the black king. Pragg is just doing a good job. He's just going to pick off white's pawn and play it safe. Yeah, there we go. It's going to be simple now. The black rook is going to come in and deliver the final blow soon. Yeah, just great technique. In Blitz, that's all you need to do. Just get rid of your opponent's final hopes. And Magnus is leaning back. He's ready to resign. Black's rook can give a check. Black's pawn can give a check. Or you can get the queens off the board.
Yeah.
It's in the final throws of this game. Another queen check is going to come. The black rook is going to join the action next move.
Here it comes.
And
that must be it.
Yeah. White can give one check.
Oof.
The black king hides. And I think we're going to see Magnus resign.
Oh, he's got a little still fighting.
Still fighting, but the queen's come off.
And he's going to resign there, is he? OK.
Pragg takes another win. What a game.
It's over. Pragg takes the first Blitz game. He takes the lead in the tiebreaks with a draw or a win in the second.